hunger to win. It burns within each of these drivers. But the hunger to win the U.S. Nationals is something different. A win at Indy is the culmination of an entire lifetime of hopes and dreams. A win here is the ultimate accomplishment in drag racing. No career, no matter how storied, no matter how prolific, is complete without a U.S. Nationals win. The anticipation builds as these men and women prepare to run for the NHRA's ultimate prize. For each one of these racers, the journey into drag racing immortality goes through Indianapolis. And that journey begins right now. The worldwide leader in sports presents exclusive coverage of the $50 million NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Today from the motorsports capital of the world in Indianapolis, final qualifying plus the semifinals and finals of the Skoal Showdown at the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. And hello again, everybody. Marty Reed alongside with Mike Dunn and a few thousand of our best friends that have jammed Indianapolis Raceway Park, and they have not been disappointed by any of the early action that we had earlier today. In fact, let's get you caught up on what's happened in Top Fuel. Take you back to Friday night session. Clay Millican debuts a brand new paint scheme, courtesy of Popular Mechanics and all his other sponsors. And then Mike Dunn, Clay goes out, blows her up.
Oh man, push the head gaskets out, then blows the supercharger off. Huge flame out at the other end. Just unbelievable for Clay Millican right there.
The paint job was okay. Then who would be number one? Left lane, Tony Schumacher. New track ET record, 4.459 at 329. Doug Coletta right behind him at a 4:51. Then let's go to session 2 yesterday. Again, it was Shu and Doug side by side. Tony goes 4.55 seconds at 3:24. That was quickest of the session. Doug was right behind him again, a 4:58. Then into session 3 last night. Doug Herbert, this one was really good, a career best.
4:46. Cruci Wayne Dupuis threw everything at the track, and boy, did it stick and run a great number.
And then Tony Schumacher does a little deja vu.
4:45 with a 9, identical to his Friday night qualifying run.
And then earlier here in session number 4 today, watch Tim Gibson get awfully close to the wall as David Grubnick goes up in smoke.
Tim trying to get that thing in the show. It starts oiling on the other end. Got some oil under the tires and drove her real close to the wall before he gets a shootout. On board with David Grubnick. He goes out there, spins the tires right about there, and the car makes a little bit of move. You heard the engine go up, and he shuts her down.
And as we get ready for 4th session of Top Fuel that we're taking a look at right now, we've still got the 5th and final session for everybody to go, but we're noticing track temperature seeming to creep up and becoming an issue.
And that's the key. So far, 3 sessions like we talked about have been in the evening session. 1 daytime session was yesterday, and it was a little bit later in the day. Right now, we're seeing probably the hottest temperatures out there, and as a result, that's causing some tire smoke. Look at that track temperature, 118 degrees, and the air temperature, 86 degrees. Makes it for a little bit tricky conditions right now.
All right, let's take a look at the leaderboard in Top Fuel right now as we are in the middle of 4th session. And you see that Hot Rod Fuller rounds out the top half of the field. There you see him over on the right lane. And Jack Beckman on the bump right now at 4.701. In the left lane, it is John Smith. Daddy for the 2nd time. Fuller goes 4.58 seconds, so a very consistent race car in the heat, in the nighttime. They stay in that 450 range, a career best ever speed for him. As you see 326.63 miles an hour. On the flip side of the coin, John Smith, he's down to his last shot.
Yeah, Rod Fuller and Lee Beard just really have a handle on that race car in the heat. I mean, a 458 at 326 miles per hour. They love these kind of conditions. That's what they're hoping for tomorrow for elimination, that sun is out. John Smith, I mean, he never had a chance, had a cylinder out as soon as he hit the throttle and put another one out about 200 feet, and that was pretty much the end of that run. So hopefully they'll be able to get that thing fixed, run on all 8 in the final session, and try to get in this show.
And let's get more from Gary Gerald.
You know, when you talk about dominance in top fuel competition at the U.S. Nationals, the name Tony Schumacher has to be, in recent years, certainly at the head of the list. And with good reason, of course. As you've chronicled, Marty, he has won the last 3 years. He's won 4 of the last 5. As Mike mentioned just a while ago in the highlights package, you saw him post identical runs, amazingly, of 4.459 seconds in the right lane, backed it up in the left lane. And the amazing thing to me was he and his crew were disappointed. They thought they could have gone faster. They were looking for a 43 or possibly better. But Mike just hit on the key. Daytime conditions. Remember, when we start eliminations and he starts his bid tomorrow for a possible 4th straight U.S. Nationals title, it's going to be temperature in the mid-80s, much like today, and it's a whole different world. So in this round, we watch very closely to see what Schumacher can uncork here. But clearly, everybody knows if you're going to win the U.S. Nationals tomorrow, you're going to have to knock off Tony Schumacher. Let's go to Dave Reed.
Gary, with 50 years of history, the story of the U.S. Nationals reads like a novel. But just like every good book, there's got to be a hook to get you interested. And that's where we enter a guy like Robert Hight. Now, keep in mind, this guy's a rookie, but look at what this rookie has already done just this season. He has won 2 races. He is the points leader in the ultra-competitive funny car class, and he has done in 17 races what the 7 other guys in the Skoal Showdown took 23 races to do. Keep in mind also, that's the car, and that is the crew chief for Robert Hight that won the Skoal Showdown and went on to win the U.S. Nationals here 1 year ago. So the story of Robert Hight is one I can't quite put down just yet.
No, I don't think anybody can, Dave. As we get ready back out trackside for Larry Dixon in the right lane, Bobby Lagana, who is not in the 16-car field in the left lane, 4.701, the magic number. No, both of them click it off. So Larry coasts on through. He gets to about half track, and for Lagana, it ended even quicker than that. So Larry will stay number 6, and Lagana stays number 19. The bad news is for him, he's only got 1 chance remaining to make it to the 51st U.S. Nationals.
Bobby Lagana had a cylinder out right at the head of the throttle. See over on this side right over there, and then went into tire smoke. Larry Dixon had a decent run going out there, and then you saw it just start to haze the tires. He felt it, clicked it off, knows his crew chief Dick LaHaye can make the right adjustments, and they'll come back and try again in the next session.
And Dick heads back towards the pits as we head towards commercial break, as we've got more Top Fuel coming your way. As Tony Schumacher, man, has he been quick. Doug Herbert, a big surprise yesterday, and a surprise here on our broadcast team. Stay with us. Back here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park. 4th session of qualifying. A single run here for Doug Coletta. Tim Cullinan was to be in the left lane, but not able to make the run. Hey, a full pole in the heat. And Doug goes 4.62 seconds at 3:22. Will not improve his ET, a 4:51, that put him in the number 5 spot, but that's a good sign if you're looking for race day.
It wasn't as good as Hot Rod Fuller's 4:58, but it went right down the middle of the racetrack. You see the car staging towards the outside of the lane, towards the wall. That means Doug has to drive that thing just a little bit towards the center of the racetrack to keep it in the groove. He does that, goes down the racetrack, puts a cylinder out just before the finish line, runs a 4.62 at 322 miles per hour on 7 cylinders.
He was on pole here last year, but right now in the number 5 position. As we come back trackside, it'll be Brandon Bernstein. He's going to be on a single pass as well, as Scott Wise has decided to take a pass. There's Tim Richards, wife Kim in the background there, and Tim says, all right, son, let's take her up, lay it down. So the burnout complete for Brandon, as he's qualified number 4 right now. And we want to bring in the man who has been to this event 45 times, and that is the voice for over 3 decades. And that's Dave McClelland on the left, the late Steve Evans, a good friend, on the right. And Big Mac, it is so great to have you with us. It's been fun yesterday, today. What have you got for us right now?
Well, Marty, this is the kind of weather that Indy is noted for. Steaming hot in the afternoon, cool in the evenings. What do you do if you are a crew chief? Let's take Tim Richards and Kim Richards on the Brandon Bernstein car. what do? You've watched everybody go out there, very few full runs in this session. But you got to try, because you know tomorrow is going to be almost like today in terms of track conditions, temperature, and lots of sunshine. But Brendan's got one ray of sunshine. They're holding a contract for 4 more years with Budweiser, and that's going to be a big deal when it's all finalized, and it's very, very close.
Thanks. And if you were with us on our earlier broadcast today, you saw Kenny Bernstein talking with Big Mac about the $150,000 that the Pro organization raised for hurricane relief efforts, which is just absolutely phenomenal. Well, Tim Richards does just fine. 4.58 seconds. Quickest run of this session at 322 miles an hour. And as we always talk about when we're dealing with this heat issue, those are the kind of numbers you're looking at when you're heading into race day.
They'll be very happy with that run, Marty.
That thing was hot, straight, and normal. Looked like a torpedo shooting out of there. Take another look at it as we head to commercial break here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals.
Indianapolis.
The Big Go, the 51st U.S. Nationals on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD.
Those guys do a pretty good job of promoting. We should let them sit up here in the booth. We can take the afternoon off, Mike. Hey, as we get ready for Scott Coletta and Corey McClelland, let's quickly go to the far end, check in with Gary Gerald.
Brandon, we've been talking about how conditions tomorrow in the run for the Big Go will be much like today. How good does this run at 58 feel, and is that what you'd hope to be able to achieve, or were you looking for something even better?
No, we were looking for a high 50. Maybe in this next run we can fine tune it a little bit, but that's what it's going to take tomorrow. Like you said, I mean, it's hot, and the track's a little sticky, so you got to make sure that you go down the track, and that's what we have to do, and we'll be ready for that.
Earlier today, your dad was talking with Mac McClelland about the possibility that the paperwork is being organized for a 4-year extension on the Budweiser deal. I saw you light up as soon as we said that. That's got to feel so good.
It feels terrific. Anheuser-Busch and that company is just a tremendous company, and to be able to go to 30 years with them, I mean, that's just amazing, and we're excited for the Budweiser Lucas Oil team.
Way to go.
Yeah, thank you.
And as you finish up at the far end, Corey McClelland's going to be reaching you very quickly because he goes low for this round right now. 4.54 seconds, 3:26. Scott Coletta goes a 4:85.
Boy, what a great path by Corey, Mac. That car's been consistent all weekend long, and a 4:54 in the heat. That was a good race day combination right there.
Are we seeing a change in the lanes? Because the right lane, the last 3, really been flying.
I think the lanes have been pretty close. It's just that right lane, you've had to kind of drive it towards the center, but it looks like the groove's getting a little bit wider out there maybe because they haven't had to move as drastically towards the center to keep it in that good rubber, and as a result, they're making good runs.
And a little bit earlier, we had Corey McClelland wired, as you see Hillary Will and Shirley Muldowney down at the starting line, which probably means that one of the Coletta cars is coming. So let's check in when we had Corey wired and listen in and see what we can learn.
Big time. How about that last night, the top end? Scott gets around there, obviously hurt the motor. So, I mean, it's the last thing you would think is we'd be helping Scott Weiss put out the fire out. But I had that big old Powerade, and they're yelling for guys over there. Hey, get an extinguisher, get an extinguisher. It's like, yell, Fred, have you got an extinguisher? No. I looked at Scott, I said, do you care? And he says, no. So I use that Powerade. It's not only good to drink, but it's good to put out fires with. So we put out the fire in the bottom to deal with that. But that would have been a perfect picture moment.
There's other times we would have known him to throw the Powerade on Scott Weiss, not on the car. That's for sure. Those guys don't always see eye to eye as we get ready back at the starting line for Tony Schumacher and Doug Herbert. Right now, the numbers 1 and 2 qualifiers.
The 2 cars here. I mean, Tony Schumacher's been consistent all weekend long. Doug Herbert, Wayne Dupuis came in here struggling. They switched the cars. They went back to the car that Doug started the season out at the beginning of the year, ran the first few races and had good success with it. Wayne went back to that particular chassis. And then in the first run, they had some mechanical problems. The fuel system didn't work right. And then they spun the tires in the second session and then came back and ran that great 446 last evening. Right now, he wants to get down the racetrack and run a mid 450 to a high 450. And I think he'd be very comfortable with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with the left lane. 4.54 seconds. And guess what? Schumacher Raceway Park continues to go in Tony's favor. Again, he is quickest for this session.
You know what? Right now, I think Alan Johnson can run that car down the return road and run a 450. I mean, it doesn't matter what he has. You saw a couple cylinders go out. Remember, they got the rev limiters starting out early where it actually takes ignition timing down there once it sees 8,300 RPM and put a couple of cylinders out before the finish line and, you know, slowed that thing down. I mean, only went 316 miles per hour right there. Cylinders on both sides well before the finish line. That car usually runs about 328, 329 when it keeps all 8 cylinders lit.
So Tony has been quickest in every top fuel session. Remember, he's never held the pole here in Indy, although he has won 4 of the last 5 years when it came time for race day. Take a look. Not much has really changed in the order as Jack Beckman still sits on the bump spot. 4.701 is what you're going to have to run if you want to punch your way in. We have 27 top fuel cars here on the grounds, and all those guys you're looking at right now have 1 chance remaining later today.
You can go hard or go home. Watch TV. You got a choice to make. You got a choice to make. If you really want it, you can go hard or go home. You can work real hard. You got a choice to make. Don't stop, don't quit. You can go hard or go home. Give it all you got.
Back here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and that view comes to us courtesy of the oval track that's here at Indy. Looking back towards the starting line area and some of the grandstands right behind him. And as we get ready for our final session of Pro Stock Motorcycle, let's take you back to session number 1 on Friday night. And it would be Andrew Hines setting a track elapsed time record, 7.08 at 189 miles an hour. GT Tonglet, his teammate in the left lane, would only manage a 7.24, but they'd get better. He moved to session 2 early yesterday, and it would be Hines again, another 7.08. And that would be good enough to hold on to the track record. Craig Treble over in the other lane, a 7.14. That would put him in the number 8 position. And as we go to session number 3, then it was Hines up against Ellis. Hines, 7.11. This was round 2 of the Pro Bike battle. Ellis's 7.23. Then in session 4 earlier today, Matt Smith got everybody's attention. Moved to the number 2 spot with a 7.09 over in that right lane at 184 miles an hour. That was the best run of the session. And take a look, and you can see that Smith is a Harley-Davidson sandwich right now. It's made up of Suzuki meat. We'll see what happens. Joe DeSantis is on the bump spot in the number 16 position with a 7.205. We have a total of 29 bikes trying to make the 16 bike field. So 13 are going home. 2 of them could be Kurt Mott and Buddy Robinson. Mott left lane, Robinson right lane, neither one in the field right now. Mott, of course, runner-up at Houston earlier this year. 3rd time he's been here at Indy. Buddy Robinson's 3rd attempt to try and qualify for any NHRA national event. And neither is going to be around on race day. Kurt Mott, 7.31, nowhere close, and it was even worse for Buddy Robinson. So Joe DeSantis survives so far. He stays in the number 16 position. Let's take some moments, go back and check in once again with Dave McClelland. Oh, I know that guy sitting next to you.
Well, Marty, this guy from a period of a little over 20 years, from 1971 through 1992, captured a host of headlines and a total of 6 Wallies, winning here at Indy, one of the most prolific champions that Indy has ever seen. Welcome, Ed the Ace McCulloch. You had quite a string there with 5 funny car wins and 1 in top fuel.
Well, you know, Dave, this is Indy. This is the U.S. Nationals, and a lot of those people out there and the youngsters today, they don't know the tradition of this sport and what it means, but the U.S. Nationals is special, and it's been very good to me, and is all I'd ask is just let me win it one more time.
That's it. Well, your last funny car win, and by the way, 5 is the most funny car titles anybody has ever won here at Indy, was against Tom Hoover in 1990, and we got the pictures to prove it. Tell us about that run.
Well, you know, Hooves is a great competitor. We match race with him all the time. And, you know, you can't ever take him lightly. You know, no matter who you pull up to, you know, in the final round. And it was a good race, and we came out on top that day, you know, once again here at the Nationals.
And then, of course, you switched to Top Fuel. You had a good bit of success in that category as well.
Well, that was, you know, that was really good. I had the option. It seemed like, you know, I've raced the majority of my career running funny cars, and you know, all the guys that I raced with all my life, I mean, the Prudhommes and the Bernsteins and all of the guys that switched over to Top Fuel, and the only guy left in funny car was me and Force, and I said, I don't want to race that Force guy anymore. I want to go race with these other guys. So I had the option to go do that thanks to Larry Miner and the McDonald's team, and so I did that a couple of years, and it was a lot of fun.
All right, one topic on everybody's lips in the pit area is Ed McCulloch's health. Why don't you bring us up to date and kind of lay it out for us as best you'd like?
Well, Dave, you know, it's one of those things that it happens. The alternatives, there is no alternatives. You know, I've gone through about, I mean, I'm doing chemo right now. I've got 4 treatments out of 12 that I have to do. It's a preventative maintenance. So everything looks really good. The stuff will kick your butt pretty good sometimes, but for me to be out here and stay busy is the best medicine for me.
Well, coming out of the rough and tumble world of the early days of drag racing, kicking butt is not necessarily unknown to you. I have a question for you about your current job, and that is the crew chief on the Brute car of the Don Schumacher Racing Camp. What's the future look like there?
Well, I think we have a bright future. I mean, I'm very fortunate to be able to have Ron Capps back over and have him as our driver. He's a tremendous spokesperson. I mean, he covers every base. I mean, he does really good in the car. He handles the fans, the sponsors. He's really good. So I'm really glad to have Ron. Working for Don Schumacher, I mean, he's a businessman. He's a demanding person, you know, and he expects success. That's what we get paid for, is to win races. If we're not winning races, you know, we hear about it. But he's got a great operation. All of our teams now are working really well together, and I'm just really, really pleased to be a part of their organization.
You are one of the few that have been successful in bridging the gap from the early days to the modern era of drag racing, from a championship driver to a championship crew chief. We look for a lot more years from you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Dave.
Ed the Ace McCulloch. Marty, back to you in the booth.
All right, thanks, Dave. And just in case you weren't with us a few weeks ago when Ed, of course, broke the news, it was a benign tumor. And as he said, it's preventative maintenance, the chemotherapy, and he still has 8 more treatments to go. We can tell you the field is now set in Pro Stock Motorcycle.
And I just wanted to add to that, Ed the Ace McCulloch is probably the best driver to never won the championship. But looking back at his career, winning 6 U.S. Nationals isn't a bad deal.
Not bad at all. All right, let's take a look at what we're going to have for you tomorrow. We'll kick it off with a special edition of NHRA Today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That'll get your Labor Day started on a drag racing note. Then we'll have early eliminations at noon Eastern and final eliminations 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. For more, just log on to ESPN.com. Scared me for a second there. I thought I was looking in the mirror. Got Karen Stouffer in the left lane. Of course, she's got Geico Motorcycle as her sponsor. The Gecko riding along. Fastest Gecko on Earth. Sean Gann went to the finals 4 straight years here at Indianapolis. He almost didn't make the field. He got in the 4th session. And you heard the documentation if you were with us. Dave Reef, how many motors they've gone through in the process. A 7:26 for Karen, a 7:29 for Sean, and you're noticing that a lot of people are very far off their best numbers, and again, it's because we had the night sessions, 2 of them in fact, and here we are racing with the sun still on the track.
This situation, even though the air conditions aren't that bad, the track just gets that heat on it. Even for the pro stock motorcycles, they can spin the tires too and drop off an ET.
All right, well, we've got to take a commercial break as you see track temperatures up to 119. And there's Erica Enders. She's trying to turn a page of history, becoming the second woman to qualify for pro stock at Indy. We'll talk to her. Back here at Mac Tools U.S. Nationals final qualifying pro stock motorcycle. You either do it all now, get your best position. The field is set. We can tell you these guys that you're watching are in the show, Craig Treble and Mike Berry, but both are in the bottom half of the field. Don't know, though, with the way the heat is on the track, whether they have enough to be able to punch their way into the top half of the field. To do that, you're going to have to run better than a 7:12. Treble runs it through at a 7:16. That is the quickest run of this session, so that's at least the good news for Craig. The bad news is he'll stay in the number 9 spot. Mike Berry will stay in the number 10 position.
It's not bad for Craig Treble. He doesn't have the fastest bike out there, but he's been very consistent, kind of like what we saw when he was up in Denver. Not quite that consistent when he ran, I don't know, he made like 4 runs in a row at 7:48, which is at altitude was actually pretty good runs. But here he's been stuck in the 17 range, 7:12. You know, his worst run was a 7:20. Race day, you know, if the sun's out, you know, that might get you a couple rounds. If you get a break, hopefully he'll get the trophy.
And there he is at the far end of the track. We promised that we'd talk to Eric Enders before the commercial break, and there's the camp. And let's bring in Dave Reef.
Marty, you talked about Erica trying to become the second woman. Shirley Shahan the first a long time ago. Erica right now sitting in the number 16 spot. But so far, the thing that's most important to her in Indianapolis, slammers. You got some good news there.
Yes, we have very good news. All of us here at Cagnassi Racing are very excited to announce that Bravo Foods International and Slammers are continuing our marketing partnership on through the rest of the 2005 season and the entire 2006 season. So it's extremely exciting.
Good milk for everybody. So let's talk a little bit about your qualifying position right now. Teetering on that 16th spot. It's hot out there. Are you going to be able to hold on, you think?
I think so. Yesterday we ran a pretty stout 76 in the heat of the day, and you know, we made the corrections from that last run with the 77, and I really do think that we have it in this car. My crew chief's pretty confident in it. I'm confident in it. If I can do my job, we can get this car down the track and more into the field than we are.
Anytime we seem like we talk about Indianapolis and the U.S. Nationals, we've got to go talk to the legends. Shirley Muldowney, who helped pave the way for you, and Hillary and everybody else that's out here as a female. And of course, everybody else who's won. As a first-timer, the person who grew up in the sport coming from junior dragsters, what does Indy mean to you in your first trip?
Indy's huge. I've been running here since the first Junior Dragster Nationals in 1994 when I was 9 years old. I got to the finals here when I was 16. My first year in Super Comp, I got down to 3 cars out of 174. So all my first years have been pretty successful here, and I'm hoping Indy's saving one up for me in Pro Stock. It'd be awesome.
Even more encouragement, this is the team's first actual engine that they've produced from Nick Ferry and Joe Hornick and Steve Johns. From top to bottom, this is their piece. This is the future for Erica Enders, and they are very excited about it.
All right, thank you, Dave. As you saw that run while they were talking, Steve Johnson has now gone low for this session, 7.16 seconds. Talk about the most U.S. National wins in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Look at Antron Brown. He is tied with Matt Hines with 2. Of course, they've both got a long way to go to catch Dave Schultz, John Myers, and Terry Vance have 3. And there'll be Antron over in the left lane. Chip Ellis over in the right lane. He was on pole here last year, but come race day, it was not the kind of results he wanted. He was out of here in the first round. Don't worry about the red light. It means nothing in qualifying. And a 7:19 for Antron and a 7:16 for Chip by 4/1000th of a second. Steve Johnson is still quickest of this final session. So that is still good news for Mr. Johnson, as they have been looking for some answers. And we've got to take a commercial break. We'll be back with the last few pairs of Pro Stock Motorcycle here at the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Find out as we get ready now for Matt Smith in the left lane, Ryan Schnitz over in the right lane. Remember, it was Matt, the earlier session today, who went low in that one with a 7:09 to move into the number 2 spot. a 7:18, so you get an idea. He falls off by 9/100ths, Mike. He'll stay number 2, obviously, and Ryan falls off to a 7:26.
Matt Smith, I think, did a good job, though. He's on that George Bryce bike that Chip Ellis used to ride. Chip Ellis came out with a new bike for this particular race, and Matt Smith has looked really good. But this run, it spun the tire very hard off the starting line, moved way over towards center. Look at him lean that bike, trying to keep it in the middle. He rode the edge of the group, but he lost a lot of time on that initial launch.
Yeah, they looked like almost a mirror image. They both headed towards the center line as we get ready now for Andrew Hines and GT Tonglet. And, of course, GT from Metairie, just outside of New Orleans, is we have got the list of just the drivers with hometowns in the hurricane damage areas. We've got crew members, the Dupuis family. They sustained a lot of damage. I mean, it just goes on and on as we get ready for GT in the right lane, Andrew in the left lane. This would be Andrew's 16th career pole, 8th this year. I don't think we have to worry about anybody going quicker than 7:08 with this heat.
Doesn't seem like it, but if anybody can do it, it'd be the Harleys.
Well, the 7:10 is the quickest run of the session for Andrew. He will stay on pole, and a track speed record, 193.85 miles an hour. So Andrew ups the ante again, takes the track speed record away from Angel Sampé. She got it yesterday.
That was a good run by Andrew. He spun the tires. He's only 112 and 60 feet, probably about 400 slower than what he would be on a very good run. But obviously the power from that V-twin Harley Davidson took over right after the launch. Right here, he lets the clutch out, and that thing spins the tire just a little bit too much, and we're only talking 400ths of a second, but that's a lot in pro stock motorcycle. Runs a 7:10. That possibly could have been a 7:07, 7:06 if the track would have been just a little bit tighter right off the start.
So another first for Harley Davidson. They get their first ever pole here at Indy at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Here's the ladder and the matchups. The arrow indicates who has the lane choice. Boy, that's Steve Johnson, Craig Treble. That'll be a good matchup. And then, Antron Brown and Angel Sampé could match up in the second round. And here are the combinations over on the right side. Anybody jump out at you there?
I mean, I like Matt Smith and Chris Rivas. I think that's a good matchup. But Ryan Schnitz and Karen Stouffer. Karen's been running awfully good also.
And let's go check in with Gary at the far end.
Talking with Andrew Hines here, and Andrew, you just revealed something that I find of interest. You kind of prognosticated the fact that you would get the speed record back, and you did it last night.
Yeah, this Screaming Eagle V-Rod is so fast, you can pretty much predict when it'll go fast. The left lane here is a lot better than the right. I went up in the tower last night. I told everybody that once I got back in the left lane, I'd take the speed record back from Angel, and we went 193. So Screaming Eagle Vance V-Rod did enough this weekend to stay number 1 and break the ET record and the speed record. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
It's going to get serious tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow's a serious day. It's the U.S. Nationals, biggest race of the year. Going to do it for the fans.
All right, good stuff there.
Remember, he's in a points championship chase with his teammate GT Tonglet, and GT trying to double up for another $10,000. He already won 15 by winning the pro bike battle. We've got to take another commercial break. Here's some of the historic video from Indianapolis as you take a look at Richie Stevens as he's getting ready to do battle with Larry Morgan and Jake Coughlin Jr. and the rest of the pro stock field. Final qualifying attempts coming up.
The big go. The U.S. Nationals.
It doesn't get any bigger than this.
You're no one until you've won Indy.
I've won it twice.
And welcome back to Indianapolis Raceway Park as let's get you caught up on pro stock. The factory hot rods take you back to Friday night session number 1. Who would be numero uno? Well, look over in that right lane. Greg Anderson, 6.71, 205. He had the ET record. KJ went 672 at 205.35. He took the speed mark. That would change before it's all over. Let's go to Saturday into the second session. And then you've got Greg Anderson and KJ side by side again. And Greg just thumps everybody by 4 100ths. He goes 670 to KJ's 674. And they were still 1 and 2, respectively. And, of course, the ET record went lower. Then let's go to session number 3. Ron Krischer. Now, this guy, last time he failed to make the field at Indy, or was here a year ago. He's made every pro stock field since. He's outside looking in. Then Dave Conley and Greg Stanfield both run 6.74 seconds. Stanfield number 8, Conley in the field at number 9. Remember, he failed to qualify back in Memphis. Then Erica Enders punches her way into the field. B. Gaines over in the right lane goes 6.75. He's good for the 5 spot. Erica goes 6.75. She's good for number 15. And then here it is with Greg Anderson and Kurt Johnson. And Greg dips into the 660s. He goes 6.689, new track 18, and speed marker 205.51 miles an hour. Then let's go session 4 earlier today, because Greg Anderson over in the right lane alongside Jason Line. Greg goes 6.69. Again, the only car to run in the 660s, and he runs the track speed record even higher, 205.72 miles an hour. So here it is. Warren Johnson came back in that 4th session, moved ahead of Kurt in the number 2 spot. V. Gaines rounds out the top half of the field now at that 673. Dave Conley all the way down to Erica Enders, as she is on the bump trying to hang on. Here are the cars that are outside looking at some good names, including last year's runner-up, Kenny Koretsky. He is not in the 16-car field, and last year he went all the way to the final round. And here is John Mahoney and Pat Harold as they come to the line. Neither one is in the field right now. You got to run quicker than 6.758. Both gave it all they had. Neither has ever qualified for an NHRA national event, and unfortunately for both of them, that is still going to be the case, as they'll put it on the trailer and head on home. Let's check in again with Dave McClelland, because I think he's got somebody that Mike Dunn, you're very familiar with too.
I think I recognize him.
I'll tell you what, guys, the word legend probably is overused more than any in this sport. And particularly when you come to Indy and the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, this the 51st running of it. I'm going to throw out a few legendary names. Santa Ana Dragway, AA fuel alters, rear engine funny cars, nitro funny cars of today. And the guy sitting next to me, Big Jim Dunn, has done all of that. From his very first race, what year was it?
1950 at Santa Ana Raceway.
That's C.J. Hart's racetrack, right?
That was the original racetrack out there, yeah, and I had a 40 coupe. It was the first one to go 90 mile an hour and a quarter.
Well, from a coupe, at 90 miles an hour, you progressed rather rapidly. You had fuel dragsters, you had fuel alters. I mean, the Dunn and Reith car is one that'll be remembered for a long time.
Oh, yeah, we was very lucky. The alters was the most fun because we won a lot with that. Then we made a lightweight funny car, which was Dunn and Reith. It ran very well. I've been very lucky. I've had the talent by myself to run good now. I mean, we got the Snicker team in 91, and I had about the 4th best driver out in the races, and we had money. We ended up number 3 that year. Money still you have to compete in this sport.
I use the phrase rear engine funny car. To a lot of fans today, they think I have lost my mind and finally gone over the edge. But you actually won the 72 race at Ontario Motor Speedway.
Right, we won that one there, and they made 7 of them. 6 of them went over the wall. So I drove it for 2 years, and I finally said, I don't want to be 5 foot tall. I mean, to make 3 straight runs and be turned left or right. You never knew why.
And you never could figure out what caused that, huh?
No, I built 2 of them. A lot of people didn't know that. We changed the gravity and all that stuff, and it still didn't do it. But it was fun to drive. But everybody said, how can you drive it? I said, you got to be real chicken now. You got to be quick.
All right, let's go to the modern era. You're in the field here at the 51st Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. That's got to make you feel pretty good. A span from 1950 to 2005. 55 years you've been doing this.
Yeah, it makes me pretty old, doesn't it?
No, it makes you really smart, Jim.
Yeah, well, I do it because I love the sport, you know, and luckily I never have had to do it for money, and so that's how I get most of my sponsors. You know, snaking the guys, they don't pay them enough to take them, so I take them and have a good time.
That's it. Jim, we wish you well here this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Marty, back to you.
All right, thanks, Dave. As we get back trackside, Ron Krischer and Ben Watson.
One of the things you didn't talk about when he built that coupe, my granddad told me he took the motor off his brand new Lincoln without asking him to put him in that coupe to go race out at Santa Ana.
When did he find out?
When he came home and the motor was out of his brand new Lincoln in the garage.
All right, Krischer has got to run quicker than 6.758. So does Ben Watson. But for Krischer, he's got a streak that started after last year's U.S. Nationals. This place hasn't been kind to him. He failed to qualify here last year, has made every race since, and he's on the verge of going home again. And remember, he's 7th in the points right now. Oh, man, did you see the car launch? Not going to happen. Krischer goes 6.79 at 2:03. It is the quickest run of the session so far, but unfortunately, it's 4 100s off of the bump spot. And Ben Watson is also heading home. A 6.82 just won't get it done.
He lost at least 300s on this launch. Watch it. He's had this problem. Just picks the front end up way too high and drives it over to the wall. So it's 60-foot times off, but it also affects the the 2-3 shift also through the middle. And by the time he got to 330, he was already about 300 or 400s off where he normally would be just because he missed on the setup.
You mentioned 60-foot times. Normally, we're seeing a good run now in the 0.990 range. He was at 1.01, so that gives you an idea. And doesn't sound like a lot, but it's enough to put you on the trailer and head you home. All right, well, we've got to take another commercial break. My goodness, the tire's bigger than he is. He'll get it home somehow. Stay with us. We're coming back. More of the factory hot rods. I like the way he's riding. Back here at the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis Raceway Park, getting ready for more of our final qualifying session in Pro Stock. And we're coming to one of those dramatic moments because Bob Benz is in the left lane, Kenny Koretsky in the right lane. And if you were listening a little bit earlier, we told you Kenny went all the way to the finals here last year, but he has had just a disastrous 2005, and now he's bordering on not even making the field. His best runs at 2 100s off the bump spot.
It's going to be very tough. I mean, the key right here is the setup. The air conditions aren't that bad. I mean, they're a little bit worse, but they're good enough to make the horsepower to probably run the number. The problem is the track right now just is a little bit greasier. You can't get as aggressive with your setup and get that car accelerating quick for the first couple hundred feet, and that's where they get hurt.
Dave Reef?
That's a brand new Jerry Bickle Dodge Stratus. He's very, very excited about. 55 pounds lighter than the one he had. They actually have to hang weight off of this car. Those are all things that they thought would be good news coming here to Indy, but they have suffered through new car blues. And in fact, going into this last session right now, have changed the motor. They are cautiously optimistic, but we haven't seen anybody come within 0.04 of a second. So it's going to be a pretty tall order for last year's runner-up.
Jet engine might help right now. It's over for Kenny. And unfortunately for Bob Benza, it is over as well, as he can only muster a 682 at 203. So Bob will head on back to Briarcliff Manor, New York. And for Koretsky, he'll focus his attention now to his top fuel team with Clay Millican. So as they turn off at the far end of the racetrack, Greg Anderson was kind enough to walk us through a run in Pro Stock. Greg, take it away.
A lot of things that go on in a Pro Stocker on a run. Initially, obviously, we'll get bolted in the car, we'll get seatbelt, all the safety equipment on. I try to wait as long as I can because it's tough inside these cars, awful hot. So we wait as long as we can. We get all the safety devices on, the Hans device, the helmet, gloves, everything we can, strapped in the car. When it's time to light the car up, we've got all our control switches up above here, our ignition, our fuel pump, everything. We turn all them on, we start the car. We start the car, we put the clutch in, we bring the transmission up to low gear. We put it in low gear, which is all the way forward up top here. We drive on up to the water box. We get to the water box, we pump our brake pedal up to about 1,000 pounds of brake pressure. We hold this little button here, which is called your line lock. That puts 1,000 pounds of pressure on the front brakes. We rev up the throttle, snap the clutch out, get the rear tires spinning, and heat up them tires, get it up to a certain RPM, and the car stabilized. We let off the line lock, and we cruise on out across the starting line and heat them big Goodyears up and get as much heat as you can possibly get in them. Then we take and shut it down, and we back up. We clutch in it, we pull reverse on it, we back up behind the starting line, and we'll have guys up there lining us up. We'll put the car back in first gear, and we'll ease on up to the first stage beam. We'll roll to the first stage beam. As soon as we light that first stage beam, we'll pump that brake pedal up to about 300-400 pounds, and we'll get on that line lock button again. Now we can let our foot off the brake pedal, and we get ready to bring the car into the second stage beam, which means when you get there, you better be ready to go. So you bring your RPMs of the motor up a little bit, and you ease that clutch pedal out a little bit, and you drag that car against the front brakes into that top second stage bulb. When you get that second stage bulb lit, you get that clutch on the floor and that throttle on the floor at the same time, and you get inside of that Christmas tree, and as soon as you see a flash of yellow, you snap that clutch, you pull second gear when the light comes on, you pull third gear when that little light comes on, fourth gear, fifth gear, all along with one wheel on the steering wheel, one on the shifter. When you get it in high gear, you come off the shifter, you get ready, and you pop that parachute button on the steering wheel, and hopefully it's a great run and everything works out fine, and you're on a pole.
There will be a quiz at the end. That's how much goes on inside the cockpit as you're on board now with Erica Enders. She'll be in the left lane. So far, she's stayed on the bump spot. Dave Northrup will be over in the right lane. No one has been able to run quicker than that 6.758.
Dave Northrup in the other Kenny Koretsky car right now, trying to get his way in here. Best of a 676. You know, it's as we've seen, it's going to be tough. I mean, the track conditions. I mean, like I said, I think the air's not quite as good as it's been, but it's not bad. It's just the track right now. You just can't get the cars hooked up enough to get the car accelerating, and yet they know you got to put enough in it to run a certain number, so they'll do that. And then a lot of times what happens is you'll see that tire spin through low gear, second gear, and then that really affects the elapsed time.
Goes 6.746, quickest run of the session, and jumps up from the bump spot to number 9. So in the heat, she becomes the first racer here in this final session to move up and make an improvement.
And get that. I mean, she's obviously very happy with that run. She only picked up 12 thousandths of a second, just a little over 100th of a second to jump up from that bump position to number 9. That's how close Pro Stock is, and it's so critical to get everything just right. I think they hit the basic combination just right on that race car. She did a great job hitting all her shift points just right and moving up into the field.
Dave Reif.
That's right. If you just missed it a little bit ago, we talked about the fact that that is the first new power plant that her trio of engine builders, Nick Ferry, Steve Johns, and Joe Hornick, who came over from Gig Anderson's team, have put together. They're very, very excited about that, and I think that run just put an exclamation point on that excitement.
As we come back, Bruce Allen coming on the left lane. There is his record here in 19 races at the U.S. Nationals. Dave McClelland, you've got more?
Well, it is a very personal thing. Years ago, Marty, I had the opportunity to attend Roy Hill School, and I actually got a Pro Stock license and had the opportunity to run at the Pro Stock Super Bowl down in Houston in March. And it was interesting indeed that here are all the real big-time racers there, and Bruce Allen was the guy that I ran against. I asked him, was it okay with him? And he says, hey, you're better than most of them out here, so have at it. And for that, I'll forever be in his debt.
All right, now wait a minute. We watched Bruce run it through at 6.78 seconds, and Jim Yates is going to miss the field.
Wow.
As he goes, yeah, he goes 6.76 in that brand new car, and he DNQ'd here last year, and he's DNQing again here this year. And I still have to ask you, did you beat him in that round?
Well, you have to understand I was driving a Roy Hill school car compared to the real live, honest-to-God race car that Bruce Allen was at the wheel of for the Rare and Morrison team. I think you probably know the outcome.
Well, but you did us proud.
Oh, well, I was there. Let's put it that way. And at least he showed enough confidence in me to let me run side by side with him. And from that point on, nobody ever once asked about, well, that's just an announcer out there driving.
Well, Dave, I like the fact that you're actually a true driver because you blamed it on the race car, saying you didn't have the car to beat Bruce Allen. Good job there, Dave.
I have had excellent instructors over 45 years of this, Mike Dunn.
All right, let's tell you the field is now set. So Mark Powak is going to make his first field of the year as he took a long time off in that left lane. That's Jed Coughlin.
You're good to go. You got about 2 seats.
Over in the right lane. Powak gets that brand new GTO, puts it together, and the 47-year-old from Akron is finally back in the field. So congratulations to that team. He's in the number 15 spot. Jeg number 14 right now. Would have been a great race for Monday.
6.778, 203.43.
You heard the call on Jeg's radio, 677 and a 676 for Mark.
What did you feel like? Just felt like it wanted to wash out a little bit as soon as I let the clutch out. Rear wanted to come around a little bit, but then just kind of labored through low. Other than that, it felt pretty decent.
You ride on board. And as they coast on out, let's see if there's a beaming smile on that face. Oh, yeah, I sort of figured that. Go ahead,
You better
Gary.
believe it. We've been talking, you know, with Dave McClelland, 45 years at the U.S. Nationals, and here's Erica Enders, just as pure a rookie as there could be here, and now in the number 9 spot after a great run. That new power plant obviously paying a huge dividend for you, and I can just tell how excited you and the team are.
We are so excited. This engine is just phenomenal. We got Steve Johns here at the track with us this weekend. It's a new piece, and we were just so excited in the heat of the day to run a stout 74 like that. We are stoked and to go from number 16 to number 9. If we juggle around, that's fine, but we're in the field for the U.S. Nationals on Monday. Thank you, Slammers.
Well, that just gives you a little hint of what it's like to make the field at the big go.
Right now, she would match up with V Gaines, as V is in the number 8 spot. That could, of course, change as we get ready now for Alan Johnson and Dave Howard. Alan over in the left lane in the number 12 spot. And Dave Howard making his first ever U.S. National start. He's right now in the number 13 spot. And a pair of 679s. It will be no improvement for either racer, but it may give them the data and the answers that they need to make the adjustments to try and find the combination for tomorrow's first round. So Erica's number still the best of this final session, 6.74 seconds. Stay with us. We've got to take another commercial break, but we've still got a lot more Pro Stock coming your way. Back here at the final qualifying session for Pro Stock at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. You're looking into the window of Richie Stevens. His Dodge will be in the left lane. V Gaines' Dodge over in the right lane. Dodge has not won this event since 1991. They've got a pretty good representation in the field. The only problem is they've got Kirk Johnson with the Cobalt and the GTO of Greg Anderson up on top of the field. Of course, Richie, if you've been with us throughout our broadcast, part of the New Orleans crew that his house is underwater, but right now all he's focused on is trying to win the U.S. National. A 677 for Richie, and the more cars that we see go down the track, the better this is looking for Erica Enders. That 674 that she ran is holding up so far very nicely as the quickest run of the session.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive because most of the cars have fallen off, you know, 2-3 of a second from their previous runs, and she stepped up and went 12 thousandths quicker. So that's a big swing in Pro Stock to make that kind of run. That was just a good job as we watch here. Alan Johnson, neither car was very good off at 60 feet, moved over towards the wall a little bit, and just ran those 679s.
All right, let's talk about our schedule for tomorrow on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. We'll kick it off with a special edition of NHRA Today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and then we've got early eliminations at noon Eastern, and then we come back to hand out the hardware at 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific. And for more, just log on to ESPN.com. And there is Bill Grumpy Jenkins. You know what that means. It's time for Dave Conley to come to the line. He'll be over in the left lane. He's in the number 10 spot right now. In fact, if nothing changes, this will be a first-round matchup because Ricky Smith is qualified number 7. 7 and 10 hook up in the opening round.
And Ricky Smith, that car really turned around since they took off the Western Swing and came up with this brand new Cobalt. Dick Maskin's just really excited. They're doing a joint effort with Rear Morrison and Bruce Allen. They're developing a new engine that's probably going to come out to probably next year, maybe possibly by the end of this year. But even the initial results are getting good information, even though, like I talked with Bruce Allen, it's really apples and oranges. They're not running the same things, but they are getting information from each other that they're able to use to improve both their programs.
Dave Conley goes 6.743. He actually improves a little bit and now becomes the quickest run of the session. In fact, Conley moves up ahead of Erica into the number 9 spot. Ricky will stay in the number 7 position. And if you were with us a little earlier, you saw Corey Mack's pit as we had it sped up just a tad. In the first 20 minutes, we saw him taking out the camshafts and putting in a new one, or did we find out it was the same one?
We actually found out it's the same configuration camshaft. What they've been having a problem with is it's actually been wearing the cam lobes down, because remember, they're putting so much fuel, so much air in here, it builds so much cylinder pressure, and if the heat treat isn't right or the material's a little bit soft on those camshafts, it'll wear them off. Crew Chief Todd Smith obviously saw that and feels, you need to keep those cam lobes nice and fresh, so they put a new one in there. And remember, they have a little bit extra time between rounds and qualifying, probably about 3 hours. Normally, if this would have been in between rounds and eliminations, they would have just took that engine out, put it to the side, and brought a fresh one in. But since they have the extra time, they say, hey, what the heck, let's put a new camshaft in here while we're at it.
Don't you just wish your local mechanic worked this fast?
And that good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think my car could handle 8,000 horsepower cranking out from under the hood. And as you can see, they've just about got her buttoned up. And as you said, they've got a leisurely pace going on at about 65 minutes, and the Duck's still riding along with Larry Morgan. He'll be in the left lane this time. Greg Stanfield will be over in the right lane. Stanfield from Northwest Louisiana told us he really didn't have any damage to worry about, but he's seeing a lot of people heading his direction looking for shelter, and they're all trying to do what they can down there. A 6.77 for Larry Morgan, 6.78 seconds for Greg Stanfield. No help for either racer right now. So as it stands, Dave Conley and Erica Enders still the quickest of this final qualifying session.
There's a perfect example. Two guys that fell off 4 and 500ths of a second, and Erica steps up and runs over 100th of a second quicker. That just tells you how good that run was.
All right, as we get ready now for Warren Johnson in the left lane, Jason Line over in the right lane. Let's take a look at the most U.S. Nationals win in Pro Stock, and by a long shot, it's Bob Glidden. But WJ is going to have 3 more chances at least, because he is assigned through 2007 with an option year. If you weren't with us earlier, that was announced. And also, we can tell you Kurt Johnson has a 3-year extension with AC Delco as well.
So by my calculations, the best he can do is tie Bob Glidden, and that means he has to win this year and run those other 2 years and win those. So if he did that, he probably would pick up that option, wouldn't he?
I think so.
Try to get that 10th win?
No, but he says he doesn't worry about records, but yet he seems to know those things and those stats every time I talk to him. All right, you're on board with Jason Line, the number 4 qualifier right now. Warren's already pre-staged, waiting for Jason to move in. They're still working on the wheelie bar. Here we go. A 6.76 for Warren and a 6.77 for Jason. And again, what that says is Dave Conley and Erica Enders welcome to race day, because they are still 1-2 in this final session.
Both drivers, both teams just missed a setup on this run. They were 101 and 60 foot, probably just a little more, not enough, as much racetrack as race car in that particular situation where they just probably spun the tires. And but I tell you, the real test will be coming up. I mean, Greg Anderson has been making perfect runs all weekend long. If anybody can read this track right now, it seems like he's definitely got the handle on it.
Here's Greg at the U.S. Nationals, 6 races. He failed to make the field back in 1998. He's pretty good when he gets to the finals. Out of 4, he's managed to take home the Wally 3 times. And he lost to WJ in the final in 1999, the only time. Right now, he's sitting on his 37th career pole. It would keeps him 3rd on the all-time list in the class if he stays there. Kurt Johnson, the only guy that can take it away from him. But so far, Greg's the only guy that's been in the 660s, and I don't even think Greg may be able to get in the 660s in this session.
But, you know, I think Kurt Johnson is real close in horsepower. I've heard some people out there say that they think maybe even has a little bit more, but Greg Anderson has just been hitting the setup. I mean, Kurt can run the number. I mean, we've seen him run big numbers, but Greg has been able to do it consistently and just really seems to be able to hit that setup, and the key will be a 60-foot time when he lets out that clutch.
Came awfully close to dipping into the 60s again. 6.70 at 2:05. Kurt goes 677 at 2:04. So basically what Greg is saying, take that, guys and gal, because I'm quickest again. He's 2nd consecutive pole here at Indy, and of course he won the race last year, so everything's going well for Greg Anderson.
Going well is an understatement. I mean, to be able to run consistently about 0.04 of a second quicker than your next closest competition in each and every session, just unbelievable. And like I said, I mean, he's obviously got a lot of horsepower, but I don't think he's got a whole lot more than some of the other big horsepower teams. He's just really getting that car to accelerate early in the run in any kind of condition you throw at him.
All right, let's take a look at our Pro Stock ladder and presented by Lucas Oil, and take a look at the matchups, because that V-Gains Dave Conley is going to be a good one. Also, Greg Stanfield, Alan Johnson. Who do you like over on the right side?
Let's see. Ooh, Smith Enders first round. That should be a good matchup.
And then you got Kurt Johnson and Jake Coughlin. That will be a dandy as well. Here are the cars that did not make the field. Remember, we had 34 Pro Stockers for 16 spots. Let's check in at the far end. Gary?
Yeah, you're qualified, 37th time, number 1. We know all those big numbers, but what's the key? Is it horsepower? Is it maneuverability? Is it this new car? Is it the driver? What's going on here? What's making you so fast?
Well, to be honest, Gary, it looks like a lot of things all together. You can't run like that out here without everything happening perfectly. The crew is absolutely hitting stride this weekend. They've been flawless all weekend. The thing's an absolute dream to drive. I mean, it's the best car I've ever had, this Pontiac GTO. It's incredible to drive, just smooth as silk, baby. It's fun to drive, you know, it's only qualifying, but by God, we put up 5 awful strong runs. We can do 4 more tomorrow. We'll be the kings.
Looking forward to it. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, we've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, it'll be time for Funny Car here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. 51st running of this great place, and it will be Gary Dencham, Bob Gilbertson, the rest of the crew coming to the line. There's Phil Burkhardt. Everybody trying to make the big go. Welcome back to the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, and that is the body of John Force's brand new 13-time champion edition, soon to be in your store as we get ready for Funny Car qualifying. That's one of the great things about NHRA Powerade drag racing. Look at it right there. All the fans are able to walk up next to the car, talk to the crew members, and it all costs the price of 1 ticket. Hey, let's talk about session number 1 in Funny Car. It was Robert Hike setting the track ET record. If you were not with us Friday night, 4.74 seconds, 3:21. Ron Captain went a 4:81 over in the other lane. Then in session number 2, Hike does it again. He stays number 1, but he runs a 4:84 this time. Tommy Johnson ran 4.92 seconds this time. And those guys were very strong. What wasn't strong was this right here, as it was a very frightening moment when the throttle hung up on the body.
Throttle linkage on the right side of the injector. When they tried, the crew member tried to lift the body up, it opened up them injector blades. You're not going to hold 7,000 horsepower because there's no neutral in these funny cars. It's triple clutch. It just engages that clutch. Wild ride there.
Nobody was hurt. We went into session number 3, and Frank Pedregon went 4.73 seconds, 326 miles an hour, career best. Then we followed that with Whit Bazemore and Tony Pedregon. Tony coming out after with a backup car, was able to at least get down the track, although they did struggle heading towards the wall and having to get out. And then John Force sets the track ET record, moves into the #1 spot, 4.72 seconds, 326. Eric Medlin, a 4.75. And then earlier today in session number 4, this is first round of the showdown. Robert Hight up against the boss, John Force, 4.82 seconds. Hight takes the win. And this was just moments ago. Take a look at Grant Downing as he was trying to make the field, and I think that's called a chicane.
That's called getting her pretty sideways there, Marty. Looks like a fuel line breaks, and it just gets under that. Oh, yeah, it got underneath that right tire, and the left tire just drove it over the center line. Luckily, he was on a single pass at the time because he was way over in the lane.
Well, we thought for a moment that was oil coming out, and he might make history by oiling 2 lanes in 1 single pass, but we've been told it's nitro.
And taking out the center blocks at the same time. I mean, that would be a record.
Well, as he bowls for dollars right here, gets the 7-10 split. Let's take a look at the leaderboard and show you exactly who is where, and the fact that we've got the quickest funny car field ever. You got John Force with new track ET record, Whit Bazemore at the end of the top half of the field, and Phil Burkhart is on the bump spot right now. As we said, it's the quickest. You're going to have to run better than 4.852 just to make it. And notice number 21, Cruz Pedregon, not in the field. He went to the finals last year, and just as we saw in Pro Stock, as we have 25 cars trying to make the 16-car field. Kenny Koretsky went to the finals last year, didn't make it. Now the pressure's on Cruz in the Advanced Auto Parts Monte Carlo. He'll be in the left lane. Body comes down, and the pressure goes up. Cruz, as he rolls through the water box, a 3-time Indy winner, and he hasn't DNQ'd since the fall race of Las Vegas 2003. That's almost 2 full seasons.
And the issue that Cruz has been having at this event is he's not been able to get the thing hooked up in the middle of the course. This car wants to fly early in the run. He's got some of the best early numbers of anybody out there. But last night we saw him, he got out of the groove, spun the tires, and I think what happened is maybe some of the crew guys, or the crew chiefs might have thought, well, he was out of the groove, that contributed to spin the tires. If he can keep it in the middle, it'll stick. Well, the next run, he kept it stuck in the middle in the first round of the showdown, and it still spun the tires. They're just too aggressive in the middle right now.
Dave Reed?
You mentioned a 3-time Indy winner. Keep in mind that was 3 of the first 4 years Cruz Pedregon came to this facility. He's experienced Indianapolis utility since 1995. Had a chance to talk with Ron Douglas about how he's approaching this, and it's just like you said, Mike Dunn. The car wants to go really, really good early, but then it falls off at about half track and beyond. He says the problem is in the clutch cannon. He says all he can do is keep trying to drill the thing in, slow it down, slow it down. So hopefully they can run 485 or better, but that would be incredible if last year's runner-up and a 3-time winner didn't make it.
I'll tell you, if it was me, if I can't slow the clutch down fast enough, you got to take horsepower away. Just take a bunch of timing out of it when it gets out there about 300, 400 feet. Make sure it doesn't spin the tires. He's got good enough early numbers. He's probably still getting the show.
That was wife Sharon looking on. Here we go. Nope, not going to happen. You saw him hacksaw on the wheel inside the cockpit, and Cruz Pedregon will not be around tomorrow for race day.
Wow, that's a surprise. I mean, not only the fact that he won't be around for race day, that has smoked the tires at the head of the throttle, because he has been hooked up all weekend long at the early part of the runs, like we said. They probably weren't even really worried, too much concerned about addressing that part. But watch right here. As soon as that thing just had way too much wheel speed, goes right up into tire smoke right there.
It is the 2nd time he's DNQ'd here at Indy. Let's listen on board. you don't have to be able to read lips underneath that helmet to know what Cruz was saying. Look at wife Sharon. She can't believe it. And we're at the far end with Gary.
Cruiser, how do you put this into some kind of perspective?
Well, I just want everybody to know this isn't the end of just the beginning. Car was trying to absolutely fly all weekend. We got behind, and that's all there is to it. We just got behind, couldn't recover. The heat just wasn't on our side. That, you know, when you run at night and you miss those opportunities, all the cars run good, and we had a great run going. Fact of the matter is, when we tried to really run our car in the heat of the conditions, and we knew it had to run a 485 record time, by the way, it's just very, very difficult. But, you know, this is a little setback, but for Advanced Auto Parts, everybody's behind me here, Quaker State. You know, it's a setback. Hey, I've been doing this long enough to know that this is just, we'll get over this. It hurts, but, you know, it just, things happen. But I guarantee you we're gonna make some noise before the end's out. It's not over yet.
We look forward to that. We're sorry about your disappointment.
Next stop will be 2 weeks when we hit Reading. We've got to take commercial break, take one more look as we ride on board. Just that quick, a dream is over. Stay with us. More funny car qualifying here at the U.S. Nationals. Back here at qualifying in funny car, the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. The body is up on Tony Pedregon's machine. Of course, yesterday, the frightening moment. And if you're just tuning in, we'll take one more look at this. This is what happened yesterday when they tried to lift the body. That's Cody Pendergrass. He got his tooth chipped, but the worst was for crew chief Dickie Venables, as he is standing on the left side of the car when it goes off. And I mean, he had burns, 1st and 2nd degree on his legs, literally blew his pants off. There's Cody. Everybody was okay except for the burns, and right now we're getting ready for Tony. And Jack Wyatt, still one of the guys trying to punch his way in, but you're going to have to run record numbers just about to do it. Well, Wyatt gave it a shot. 5:03 is not going to get it done, though, and Tony goes 4.90 seconds, so he's going to stay in the number 15 spot. Phil Burkhart survives on the bump in our quickest funny car field in the history of the sport. You got to run quicker than that 4.852 just to make the field. Now, just a few moments ago while we were in commercial break, Dave Reef caught up with Cody and Dickie Venables. Let's hear from him now.
24 hours past a very scary accident involving Tony Pedregon's car. Dickie Venables, the crew chief, Cody Pendergrass, are still here at this racetrack working. And Dickie, we certainly want to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your burns and how they're feeling today.
Well, I've got some burns on the front of my legs, left leg being the worst, from about the mid-thigh down. I've got a little bit on the right, 2nd degree, most of them. It's painful. I've got pain medication, but I'm not going to take it till after we run today.
Probably a good idea. And Cody, as far as you go, nobody would probably even know better if it wasn't for that scuff under your eye, because look right there. You got brand new teeth already. What happened there?
We got it fixed. It just knocked it out, cracked it, as you saw earlier. It's great dentist here at the track. Hooked me up last night about 11:30, 12 o'clock. Let me go to his office and tune me up. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty good. And Dickie's got the most of the pain here. So
24 hours passed, as we say. What goes through your mind now when you think back about that?
Just be careful. These are animals. They'll get you anytime if you're not watching out.
Dickie, take care of those burns, okay? As far as that tooth job goes, the track doctor here in Indianapolis did that for him, free of charge.
All right, thanks for the update, Dave, and glad that they're both doing well. And now here's the body work on Mike Ashley's flopper. And let's take it back a few days when they unveiled it, and really a great paint job. Skoal Gear, one of the primary sponsors, of course, Mike, the AMS Pro Mod champion in NHRA competition. Tom Compton from the NHRA on the far right. Del Worsham, the team owner of this car. And so basically a 3rd car, but Mike is totally running it. Mark Oswald, former NHRA funny car champion, is tuning. And there is John Stewart, who's made the switch over to Gary Dencham's team. He's on the left of your screen there, kneeling down. And John, of course, was with Joe Amato's squad until just a few days ago. Well, Mike Ashley gives it his best shot to try and bump his way into the field, but he runs a career best elapsed time, 4.88 seconds at 3:06, but he falls short by 3/100ths of a second. The field is set. Gary Dencham's 4.87 will not improve him. He'll stay number 14.
Tough break for Mike Ash. You see the car when it launched and moved, made a right turn over towards the wall. Got him a little bit out of the groove. He didn't get any tire smoke, but he probably got a little bit more wheel speed than he would have liked. Had he been able to keep that thing stuck in the middle, he needed about 3/100ths of a second. It would have been close, but still a good job by the team for that run.
While he coasts on out, we've talked about a lot of the legends of the sport. Well, Dave McClelland has caught up with 2 more of them. It won't take much of an introduction. You'll know him.
The race at Indianapolis has a million stories to tell and a million different race drivers, it seems like, over my 45 years here at Indy. But there are 2 that stick in my mind, and they kind of roll off your tongue synonymously. The Snake, Don Prudhomme, the Mongoose, Tom McEwen, side by side again. Slightly different approaches. You won 9 different times here at Indy, and you, Tom McEwen, won once, but I would say it was probably the most emotional win of your career in 1978.
Yeah, I just lost my son a couple of weeks prior, and it was an emotional deal. Don and Jamie were friends, and we raced, and we got really lucky that time. We tried some stuff, and he was very hard to beat, and he smoked the tires a little bit, and I got off the line, beat him, and it was a fun thing for us, but it was crowd-wise, it was a big thing because of all the stuff that was going on. So it was a nice 78 was something to remember.
How about you? You've got, 49 national event victories to your credit total. You actually won 7 of them right here at Indy, and 4 and 3 split between Top Fuel and Funny Car.
Yeah, it's been a good run here at the U.S. Nationals. You know, it's been we always wanted to win that one. Coming here, but and even today it's very, very important. But the race with the Goose and myself. First off, I couldn't believe he was in the finals when he got to the finals with me.
Yeah, from what I understand, he couldn't believe it either.
But no, it was really amazing, and his car was hot. It was really hot. It ran good and beat us. And that race, I think, went down in the 50 years of what's been going on in the sport here. That was the #1 thing that happened here at the U.S. Nationals. Of all the records that were set here, all the things that Garlitz and Shirley did, they'd boil down to that one particular race between McEwen and myself, and he won it.
Well, it turned out to be an awesome affair between the Snake and the Mongoose, because 35 years ago, you guys had a defining moment in the entire sport of drag racing. That's when you inked the contract with the Mattel Hot Wheels people. And not long ago, we celebrated the 35th anniversary of that occasion. That was quite an affair.
And we were fortunate to have you come and MC it. And Don and I had our 35th anniversary at Pomona and with Mattel, and had a nice dinner for 500 people and a signing on Saturday, and he and I signed a bunch of stuff, and they've made toys for it, and it's really been fun.
Where are you going next, Prudhomme? You've got all of these cars. I asked you on the way over here, when do you have another 4 or 5?
No, not for me. I had 3. Then we're down to 2 now, the Funny Car and the Top Fuel car, and they're both running better. So I kind of like this for a while. I'm going to stay right there. Maybe we're looking at some motorcycles in the future. I'm a big Harley Davidson guy, so maybe we'd have a couple of those. But right now, I'm pretty happy with what we're doing.
Well, obviously, car owner suits you well. You certainly have adapted to retirement well, running your quarter horses and having a good time, Goose.
That's the understatement of the year.
He made me come back here to sign over at his collectible store today. So actually, I'm working for him this weekend.
I think what's so great, though, after 35 years of Mattel getting together with us and racing together, the Mongoose and Snake is still a happening thing, man. I mean, people are in line, they want their stuff signed, the Mongoose and Snake, so I think it's way cool.
That's why they call you legends, guys. Thank you very much for stopping by.
Thanks.
Very well put. And thanks, Dave. Great interview. We've got to take commercial break. Stay with us. Still more Funny Car and Top Fuel final qualifying. Back here at qualifying at Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. And there you see Tim Wilkerson pulling in. He'll be in the left lane. Over in the right lane, it will be Ron Capps. While we were in the commercial break, Tony Bartone came to the line. He was in the left lane. Bob Gilbertson over in the right lane. Gilbertson not a factor in this run, but Bartone runs another good, strong 4.90 seconds at 3:11. They haven't made every session, but they've been efficient when they have. And here, he gets down the quarter mile in a 4:90. Body comes down as Ron Capps will be over in that right lane.
Ron Capps currently second in the Power 8 point standing, and it's because Eddie Ace McCulloch has been giving him a consistent race car, not running the big numbers. But this car's been going down the racetrack, and it just seems like they're not making a lot of mistakes. It seems like on race day, if you're going to get around Ron Capps, you know, you're going to have to beat him. They're not going to beat themselves lately.
You notice the way the sun is beginning to set as the day is getting longer. Here we go. Tim Wilkerson goes 4.856. Oh, and he's on fire. So a good run is ruined at the end as the car erupts into flames. Tim trying to get it stopped, sliding close to the wall, getting it out of the groove. Plumes of smoke pouring out. And the question is Tim okay? And yep, he's climbing out. So he looks okay. Looks like the fire bottles did the job. Unfortunately, after a good solid run, they've got a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's a tough break for the team. You see the fireball still going off there, spraying that fuel on, or the fire retardant onto the fire, and that definitely did the job. Tough break. I mean, that was a good run, but obviously probably right as a situation, you know, they do the damage early in the run, but when you lift off the throttle, a lot of times it breaks the connecting rods, and that's probably what happened. Right side of your screen, Tim Wilkerson goes through the lights, has a cylinder go out. Everything looks pretty good right there, and then it lights up, flares up just at that point. Probably, like I said, as he got out of the throttle, it probably broke that connecting rod, got some oil on the headers, caught it on fire. Tim got the fire bottles off, put the fire out. That's what created a lot of that smoke right there, and Tim was able to get out of the escape hatch unharmed.
And as you see the end result, we come back to the starting line. Whit Bazemore will be in the left lane. The cleanup has been completed, and we get ready for Whit's final run. He's in the number 8 spot right now. It looked pretty good until that last little moment, and then Whit just coasted on out, so he'll stay in the number 8 spot. Right now he would face his teammate Ron Capps. Good planning by Schumacher Racing. That's one thing they would definitely want to avoid. So far not been able to. Now as he coasts on out, we get word that Gary caught up with Cody Pendergrass, who had not seen what happened to his race car yesterday when he got hit when the throttle stuck. So let's check in at the far end.
Well, we have met Cody Pendergrass through the course of this weekend after that amazing incident that occurred last night. And Cody now at the top end of the racetrack after Tony Pedregon has made his final qualifying pass, looking for the first time. And you're going to get an idea of what you went through on the nose of that car and then taken to tumble.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I should be in a little more pain than I am right now. I feel pretty fortunate, actually.
And watch from a different angle here.
That's amazing. I don't remember any of that, but the initial grab the front of the body till I hit the ground. That's it. And there's my tooth missing.
And then, of course, horrible. It is horrible. And we're so happy that you're all right. And I know Dave talked to you a while ago. They got the tooth fixed last night. And you say you're not hurting at all in your body today?
No, minor pains, nothing major. I mean, just by looking at that, it just seems like I should be a lot sore than I am. But I'm not really. I just minor stuff, but cuts and bruises, nothing major.
Well, the resilience of youth is all I can say at this point.
Glad to get my tooth back, that's for sure. Gary at Brownsburg Dental Group, he did a good job on me. So
they did a good job. And again, we're happy. And thank you for sharing this moment with us here.
Thank you.
No more. Don't ride the front end of any race cars, all right?
Yeah, we'll try not to here. It's part of the job, though, but I'll try to stay away from it.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, Gary, tell him when we were looking at it, we thought he should be in traction right now. All right, so we get Gary Scelzi back at the starting line. He'll be in the left lane, number 7 qualifier. Robert Height in the number 2 spot.
Situation where the air atmosphere conditions are about the same, but the track's a little bit cooler, so they can get a little bit more aggressive on the setup than they were in the previous session, but still not as good as the evening sessions where we've seen it was just killer here for both the Friday night and Saturday evening sessions.
Right now, we'll get ready for Gary and Robert. Both cars make it down the track, and Robert goes 4.83 seconds. That's the quickest run of this final session. Scelzi goes 4.85 seconds. So as it stands, Robert stays number 2, Scelzi stays number 7. So if nothing changes, Robert gets Tony Pedregon first round, and Gary Scelzi gets Tim Wilkerson.
Tells you what Cruz Pedregon was up against. 2 very good runs, a 483 and a 485, but it's a 485 bump, so it's a very narrow window with these track conditions to try to get a car in the show if you're not qualified.
Well, you know, Gary is always famous for his cartwheels at the end of the track when he wins, and that's the subject of this week, Scelzi says.
I'm here at Fusion Gymnastics in Brownsburg, Indiana, because I've been taking a lot of heat about my cartwheels. So Billy Jamison here is going to give me a few pointers.
Well, Gary, we love your enthusiasm. You get so excited and pumped up when you win that race, but your technique could use a little bit more work. So we're here to help you today.
Great.
Well, all you do is get those arms up real tall to lay on your head, and then you're going to kick over hard, and then stand up tall and do your victory pump.
I can do that. Ha! That wasn't so hard. Hey, this looks like fun.
Jeez. And there he is at the far end of the track. I want to see him doing double back flips or whatever that was right now. Gary?
Well, Gary Scelzi, we've just been enjoying Scelzi says here, and everybody is chuckling about your prowess on the pommel horse. In addition to your amazing cartwheels, you're going to become an All-American gymnast at this rate.
You know, I just want to be a funny car driver. Believe me, the rest of the stuff is a lot of fun. But, you know, Mike Neff and the guys, they did a great job. We got down the racetrack 85. It's finally starting to do what we've been trying to do all damn weekend. But, you know, Whit Bazemore and Ron Capps were really cheering me on during that Skoal shootout. And it means a lot. Of course, they cheered me on because they didn't have to race me. They knew that we're going to have to, you know, but for teammates to be standing up there, it means a lot. You know, this team is really coming together. It's great for Dodge, Mopar, and everybody like that at the gate. So thank you.
We're looking forward to tomorrow.
If I win, it'll get a good cartwheel, trust me.
All right. Count on it.
Is it me, Marty, or does his voice seem a little higher?
Oh, I can't wait to find out what he says to that one tomorrow. All right, as we get ready for Tommy Johnson and John Force, here are the points. And TJ in 6th, John in 4th. And boy, you just cover a blanket over everybody with 6 races remaining, the top 6. TJ knows he's got to make up ground. There's John with that brand new body style, 13-time champion. Looking for his 10th Indy pole. I think he's going to lock it up right now. Boy, great side-by-side. Look at John. Goes quickest for the session, 4.82, and TJ right behind him at a 4.84. So John's first pole of 2005 comes here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, and it is his 125th of his career. Only Warren Johnson has more in history of the sport.
Back just seems to be getting a little bit tighter. Both cars made nice passes down the middle of that racetrack. TJ's looking awfully good, making consistent runs this weekend. Let's go on board with John Force. Watch him working that wheel, trying to keep that thing in the middle of the groove. 7,000 horsepower, reaches up for the parachute and says, time to stop her, boys.
And, of course, that means we have one more pair of funny cars to come down the track, and that will be for $100,000 in the showdown. Will it be Eric Medlin in his first appearance taking the honors? Well, there was the pedal fest as Dale Worsham got around his teammate Robert Height. He'll meet Eric Medlin when we come back. As the sun begins to set in the west, it is time to find out who is going to take home $100,000 in the final of the Skoal Showdown. There is the track temperature. Let's talk about Del Worsham. He got here by beating Robert Height in a pedal fest as he drove around in both cars, end up smoking the tires. Del with the shot, and then here is the matchup in the final. Will it be the number 3 qualifier, Eric Medlin, in his very first Skoal Showdown, or will it be Del Worsham, the number 4 qualifier? Well, we're about to find out. Here's how everybody got here. Worsham took care of Tony Pedregon in the first round, then Robert Height in the second. For Eric Medlin, he had Tommy Johnson eliminated in round number 1, and then Gary Selsey in the semifinals. Let's talk a little bit about the weather. How are the conditions?
Conditions atmospherically are about the same. Air temperature's a couple degrees cooler. The humidity still very low. Density altitude or corrected altitude a little bit over 2,700 feet. That's about 100 feet better than the previous round. But the key is the track temperature, 108 degrees, a little bit cooler. The sun's off it, so it's going to be just a little bit tighter for the teams.
It'll be Medlin in the left lane, Del Worsham over in the right lane. Medlin, of course, if he becomes the 5th Skoal rookie to win, he would join the likes of Frank Hawley, Kenny Bernstein, Ron Capps, and Frank Pedregon. They also won their very first Skoal Showdown. For Del, well, he won it here as a car owner when Frank Pedregon took home the trophy and the check, but he has never won it as a driver, and he's never won the U.S. Nationals.
I tell you can never count out Del Worsham. He is just the racer's racer. And we saw in the previous round of what he was able to do as we look at his wife, Connie, there watching and anticipating that big check, hopefully. But Del Worsham, I mean, I've said 100 times, I mean, he can rise to the occasion. You can never count him out. Eric Medlin knows that. But Eric Medlin, I mean, let's face it, I mean, he's been hot. That car's been on fire. His dad, John Medlin, crew chief, they just seem to have found something. And the car's just running very, very consistent and very, very good.
They've won 3 of the last 4 national events. John Force Racing. Well, if they win this one, it would be 3 years in a row. Tony Pedregon 2 years ago, Gary Densham last year, and Eric Medlin, if he can pull it off right now. A quarter mile. Del Worsham, Eric Medlin, and $100 grand. Here we go. Checker, Shucks, and Craig, and you got some money to spend at the old CSK. 100,000 big ones, a 4.86 second elapsed time at 319 miles an hour. You saw Eric go up in smoke. Dave, this ought to buy Chuck a few parts.
Chuck, how's it feel? $100,000.
Hey, as you can see, we're a pretty happy group here, you know. I mean, man, when the crew guys get their shares, they're all happy. What a great day, man. My kid saved the second round, and car ran good that round. Just a great day.
And a huge shot in the arm for this team, too.
Oh, what a morale booster. Well, you know, we did good at the end of last year, too, so here we come.
Del Worsham, 9th in the points. That number 2 on that side of the car, he finished 2nd in the championship. This has been a dismal year for this team, and this is a huge shot in the arm.
All right.
Del, the 14th different driver to win the Skoal Showdown. Take another look.
Big surprise that Eric Medlin spun the tires early in the run. They were pretty much identical off the starting line. Del had a slight advantage. They ran identical numbers for 60 feet, and then shortly after that, probably about 150 feet out, that's when Eric Medlin got into some trouble, just as they were trying to apply the horsepower in the clutch. The track just wouldn't hold what they were trying to give it, and Del Worsham sped away for a very popular win there.
Let's go to Gary.
Well, you talk about popular, you've got that right on the nose. Now the check is right here in your hands. When this day started, how did you assess your chances to be in this position?
We felt pretty good this weekend, Gary. We'd been on the track every single run in qualifying, you know, and we came here and we tested and kind of got things sorted out, and you just don't know how things are going to end. And Eric Medlin's a great competitor, and he's definitely been on a roll lately and won all kinds of races. But today belonged to my dad and Shucks, Craig, and team. We had a great race car, and you know, our last round we got a little bit lucky, but we got through it. And thanks Skoal and everybody put on this race.
And now you take a deep breath and you think about tomorrow, and you got a chance to pick up a $50,000 bonus if you can do it again.
That'd be beautiful. I'll tell you, we can definitely use the money. It's been a little bit of a tough year, as far as wins go. So a little extra money helps. I'm the owner of this team, so I definitely feel the money.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Woo!
Look at the crew coming down the racetrack with contingencies, the prize money for winning the race, the bonus money. If this team can pull it off tomorrow, that check will swell to about $250,000 total. All right, let's take a look at the matchups because our ladder is set for the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, and it will be interesting. John Force has won 95% of the time when he has been on pole. He's been there 125. Teammates matching up with Bazemore and Cap. What do you like on this side?
I like that Frank Petragon, Gary did to match up the low-dollar teams going up against each other. Both teams look pretty good this weekend.
All right, we've got to take another commercial break, but the tradition continues here at the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Scott Wise will try and add his name to the book, so will Scott Coletta. As we take a break, stay with us. Young Morgan Lucas still looking for his first NHRA national event win. Back here at final qualifying for Top Fuel at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, you're looking at Melanie Troxel. She'll be in the left lane. Bobby Lagana over in the right lane. Melanie running her career best numbers, 4:56 and 3:26. That puts her number 10 in the field. Lagana trying to bump his way in. Got to go better than a 4.701. And it's not going to happen for either car. And the sun has gone down, so a little surprise there that neither car was able to get any traction.
Yeah, Bobby Lagana just trying to get in the show. Had ran a best of a 471, coming up a little bit short. And I think it's a situation, the sun's off it. You think, well, maybe we can just get a little bit more aggressive with it. And they obviously got a little too aggressive with it. That thing never hit from the beginning. It was spin the tires way too much.
So if you are just tuning in, you missed part of session 4, or maybe all of it. We'll show you the best run from that session. It's probably a name you're familiar with. In fact, every session so far, Tony Schumacher has been the quickest. He went 4.54 seconds earlier today at 3:16. That was Doug Herbert over in the other lane. Right now it is Tony number 1. He's run 2 of those identical 4.459 elapsed times. Doug Herbert, a 4:46. Only 3 cars in the 4:40 ranges right now. It goes on down through with Rod Fuller rounding out the top half of the field, our Memphis winner 2 weeks ago. And there you see Melanie Troxel's numbers. We were talking about that. And Jack Beckman is not in the staging lanes. He is running the risk of being bumped out of here. We're going to be checking in to see if it's a parts situation. Here are the cars that are outside looking in. Some of these guys have already made their final attempt and have failed. We have a total of 27 Top Fuel cars, and David Baca has already made his final attempt. You can see his best all weekend at 8:44, and he was the first man ever to run in the 4-second 440 zone here at Indianapolis. So how quickly things can turn. As we get ready for Rod Fuller in the left lane, Bruce Litton in the right lane, let's bring in Dave McClelland.
Thank you, Marty. Rod Fuller is a personal friend. He and my son raced a bunch in Super Gas, and I had a chance to chat with him earlier today, and if you talk about a young man living a dream, and we've heard our legends throughout this weekend refer to it as well, that if you want to do it bad enough and you concentrate on it, you can live that dream. And here is living proof as Rod Fuller, winner at Memphis, qualified number 8 here, and may well be the one to watch. He said he was on a really good path on the last qualifying effort, but he had some problems with the motor, so hang on. If Lee Beard, his crew chief's got things right, you never know. He could jump up a long way.
Thanks, Dave. Here we go. Both cars pre-staged. Bruce Litton, if he doesn't pull the chutes, he can go right on off the track far in and be at his race shop in about 7 seconds. Litton makes it all the way through at 4.76 seconds, and that is not going to be good enough. So unfortunately, Bruce takes his best shot, comes up a little short. Rod Fuller, you saw him go up into tire smoke. So right now, we've seen a little bit of tire smoke from some cars that we did not expect, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Lee Beer was trying to get this thing to step up, and that what you do is you start applying the clutch and the horsepower right at that point to try to get that car to accelerate. Hot Rod spun the tires there. He felt it, got out of the throttle. Jack Beckman, he's big sigh of relief for him that Bruce Litton didn't bump him out of the show right there, though.
So we've got to take a commercial break, and we come back. It will be Larry Dixon on his final qualifying effort. He's in the field solidly at number 6. Tim Cullinan will be trying to punch his way in.
The U.S. National
on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD.
Hey, there's some fans. Admission, $45. The gas, yeah, the gas to get here, that's going up daily. But it's priceless being on ESPN. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Glad that you're with us. Tuning in at home. Here we go back trackside here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Larry Dixon and Tim Cullinan. Cullinan, the last guy who can punch his way into the 16-car field. And when you think about it, we talked about it at the beginning of the day. 115 racers in our 4 professional categories. Tim is now the last man standing who has a shot of moving into the field. The other 50 have already taken their best efforts and are toast. What about Larry Dixon? Well, let's go back to 2001. Mikey, I hate to bring this up. I think I know that guy in that Yankees chop filler.
Who is that guy?
Well, there's what Larry did to you in the final. Dick LaHaye, the first time he ever got a win here at the U.S. Nationals. Never got a win as a driver, but he got one as a crew chief. Courtesy of that man right there, Larry Dixon.
What happened to you that day? We had a little problem in the final. Some of the crew guys forgot to put main bearings in the engine and didn't like it. Went out to about half track and blew up. And needless to say, I was not too happy.
Larry goes to 4.63 elapsed time at 3:17. The field is set. You saw Tim have problems. So that means Jack Beckman's strategy paid off for him as he did not make a qualifying run. And he will stay in the field in the number 16 spot and probably, likely, will be facing Tony Schumacher come race day tomorrow. All right. As you know, we always like to give you sounds of the strip in NHRA drag racing competition, and we're going to do it here at the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Here, as you get on board with David Grubnick, that was John Overhofer leaning in. There is Ron Tobler and Doug Coletta. As we're going to sit back as these engines, each of them 8,000 horsepower, come to life. We'll let you enjoy the sounds and sights of NHRA Powerade drag racing.
With Larry Dixon, I have the distinct feeling you guys wanted a little bit more than that. It was a clean run.
I really feel the meat for 7 cylinders, you know, I mean, it's just
up very well in the sounds of the strip, but both of them went silent before they got to the finish stripe. So Doug Coletta, who sat on pole here last year, will start from the number 5 position right now, and David Krupnik in the number 13 spot. So as we head to a commercial break, we'll just listen to the runs. We'll be back with more. Final session, Top Fuel. Stay with us. Some of the thousands of fans, and they're celebrating back in Del Worsham's pit here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. That's the winning crew from the Skoal Showdown. $100,000. We'll reminisce with that in just a moment. But first, let's go back out trackside. Get ready for Brandon Bernstein. He'll be in the left lane, the number 4 qualifier right now, and Morgan Lucas, the number 9 qualifier. And Morgan, of course, has some very fond memories of Indianapolis from a couple of years ago in Top Alcohol Dragster when he came to the line for the final and took his win, the biggest one, he says, of his career. And there it was, beating Shelley Howard, the late Shelley Howard, who we lost just earlier this year. And there's Mom, Charlotte Lucas, giving him the trophy, the medallion. He wants to get the national event win. Well, you saw Morgan skating there, and he goes 4.60 seconds, and a 4:51 for Brandon is the quickest run of this final session. And that is a big statement by Tim Richards and company.
Just what they were looking for. I'm sure that, Brandon's been looking good, going down that racetrack consistently in the 450 range. Only one run did they not go down the racetrack, and that was in the afternoon session yesterday. But since then, that car's looked really good, and another run, pretty straight. Had a cylinder go out just before the finish line. Still went almost 324 miles per hour. Saw Morgan skating around quite a bit through the middle. Probably cost him a little bit of elapsed time. But this run here, this was pretty nice till the finish line. I mean, this had good numbers right at the beginning, nice and straight through the middle of the racetrack. Starting to apply that clutch, 275 miles per hour at the 8th mile. There's a cylinder going out right there. And then that's it.
Here's the best times of this session. Brandon Bernstein by 9/100ths of a second over Clay and Morgan. And then drops down to Larry Dixon and TJ Zizzo. So that's what we were saying. This is a heck of a statement by the Budweiser Lucas Oil crew.
Yeah, all the way up, please.
And as let's go to take a look as we go back and look at Del Worsham just a few moments ago as he took care of business in the final of the Skoal Showdown, beating a tire-smoking Eric Medlin to take the $100,000 first prize. And the crew was counting it at the starting line. He was getting the check at the finish line. And then here's something we didn't get to show you before. The guy delivers it by parachute. And there it is, 100,000 big ones. And now you know why the 2 officers are there. Or maybe they were there for the Skoal girls. I don't know. Look at the celebration going on back in the pit. And I would imagine there's probably an adult beverage there, Gary.
Well, they count their money at that end of the racetrack, and here Brandon Bernstein counting his blessings. That's a terrific run. What kind of statement do you think you've thrown down to the rest of the field with that 51?
Well, hopefully we've got something for him tomorrow. Definitely the conditions are good right now. The sun went down and the track's, getting a little bit tight out there. But Tim and Kim and the guys did an awesome job on this Budweiser Lucas Oil car. And, hey, it's a Mac Tool sponsored race, and hopefully we can bring home that big check tomorrow.
And, of course, this has been such a big part of the family tradition. It would be extra special, I'm sure.
Oh, it would.
All right, thanks, Gary. Big smile on Brandon's face. Why not? You run good in the final session. Get ready for race day. Speaking of getting ready, here's Corey McClelland, and he'll be in the left lane. Scott Coletta over in the right lane.
Corey McClelland has had a great car all weekend, going down that racetrack, making great runs. Number 3 qualifier at 449. Scott hasn't been bad, but he'd like to step it up a little bit right now. He's got 451 best. I think he'd like to go in the high 440 range.
Corey Mack goes 4.53 seconds at 3:25, and you saw Scott do almost the same thing as Morgan. He started skating around in that right lane, ended up getting out of it.
Yeah, he had good early numbers. Not quite as good as Corey. Corey's about 1/100 of a second better early in the run, but still, you know, Scott was going to make a good pass. But Corey McClelland, I mean, right side of your screen, this car's been flawless all through qualifying. We've seen that this year. Usually on race day, they struggled, though. Hopefully that won't happen tomorrow, and Corey can get his 3rd U.S. Nationals victory. Scott Cont'd, though, let's watch him. Let's see if it spun the tire or just flat broke something.
It's the belt. I saw it come off right there.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't spin the tires. It just broke it. It looked like the other 2 Cont'd cars did the same thing. I did not see tire smoke off. It looks like they just gave up the ghost about half track.
So they could have an issue heading into race day tomorrow. As we look back at the starting line, there is Alan Johnson and Tony Schumacher with 4 wins. Look at that man at the top. Big Daddy Don Garland's not here this weekend, so if you're watching Don down in Florida, we say hello. And there's Joe Amato, Gary Beck, and Don Prudhomme. And let's get some perspective on the speeds of Top Fuel over the years. Let's bring in Dave McClelland again.
Marty, this is a sport of numbers. We have for so many years relayed elapsed times in top speeds, and I was sitting here watching these magnificent high-definition pictures on ESPN2 HD, and it brought to mind in 1956 at the 2nd ever Nationals in Kansas City, I was standing very near the starting line when the first elapsed time under 10 seconds was run by Calvin Rice, a 9.99 second elapsed time. Here we are 50 years later, and that time has been improved by over 5.5 seconds in the span of time that I've been involved in drag racing. It is a tribute to guys like the crew chief, as you see right there, for the Wayne Dupuis tuned snap-on car, and Alan Johnson with the 445 for low ET of the weekend for Tony Schumacher. It is absolutely incredible to believe that throughout this span that I've had the privilege of watching it, it's dropped over 5.5 seconds. Where will it end are the questions that's always asked me. I say, I quit predicting years ago because you can't outfox the crew chiefs.
Yeah, it always ceases to amaze us. I mean, that 3:37 run that Alan and Tony turned in just a few events ago, that got everybody's attention. Right now, we get ready for Tony Schumacher and Doug Herbert. Finish on a great note, and look at Doug Herbert. He goes low for the session, 4.49 seconds at 3:25, and a 4:53 for Tony Schumacher. And Wayne Dupuis got to say, hey fellas, guess what? We snapped their string, although Tony will still hold on to his first ever U.S. Nationals pole, as he got that with the earlier runs of 4.45 seconds. But this was a great run by the Snap-on team.
Yeah, and the first qualifying session all weekend that Tony Schumacher did not walk away with low ET of the session. Thanks to Doug Herbert and Wayne Dupuis right there. What a run. 278 miles per hour at the 8th. That thing was hauling the mail through the middle of the course.
All right, here are the matchups. Our Top Fuel ladder presented by Lucas Oil. It will be Jack Beckman with the yeoman's task of trying to take out the pole sitter. Fuller and Lucas, that's going to be a dandy. And also Team Cont'd, they've got Grubnick and Doug on the same side with a possible second round matchup.
We got some great matchups in the first round.
There we go on the other side. Scott Cont'd, Melanie Troxel. That will be a good one. Corey Mack, TJ Zizzo, and Larry Dixon with Scott Wise. And Doug Herbert, of course, top there in the number 2 spot with probably a bit overmatched Joe Hartley, but stranger things have happened, as we have found. Let's go to Gary Gerald at the far end.
The colorful helmet that says Dougzilla comes off. Special paint scheme on this car that you've kind of brought back out and resurrected. I don't know if you've heard a number, 449.
Really? Wow. I'll tell you what, I can't. That's pretty awesome. Wayne Dupuis has really turned the Snap-on team around. We are so happy, can't believe it. DougHerbert.com and Doug Herbert Performance. Snap-on Tools, Redline Oil, everybody that helps us out with this thing. 449 is pretty awesome. I guess we're going to be able to race tomorrow. That's good.
Yeah.
So happy, real happy.
And I know that as a side note, that with that new color scheme and everything, all your memorabilia that's sold this weekend aids hurricane relief, right?
That's right. We're sending money down there to the hurricane relief. We're doing everything we can. You feel kind of helpless when you watch that on TV, and makes you realize just how lucky we are.
Absolutely. We'll check in with Dave Reef now on the story on Jack Beckman.
Well, Gary, rookie top fuel driver Jack Beckman will get a chance to chase that Indy Dream. They sat out the 5th session, not because they were saving up on parts. Actually, they had a problem. I'm at the front of this 300-inch wheelbase dragster. This is the fuel cell. And if you follow here, there is a 2-inch fuel line that goes all the way down the back of the car, underneath the driver's compartment, and then comes out down here. From there, it is divided with this aluminum piece into the 2 fuel pumps that are strapped to the front of that engine. Well, remember the Tony Schumacher incident and this bar that they added after his car tried to fold up in Seattle? Well, look at the bottom of this now, and you can see where that frame rail has been bumping against that. Consequently, they developed a hole about the size of a pin in this weld. That allowed air to get inside of that engine, and it could have been an even bigger problem, but they found it. This piece on the way to the welders. Jack Beckman will get a chance to chase the U.S. Nationals Dream, Gary, tomorrow.
And for Tony Schumacher, this is the first time that you haven't been the quickest all weekend long. Does that concern you going into tomorrow at all?
No, obviously not. We ran 245s and low 50s all weekend. We got to come up with a race. We were concerned coming in that we wouldn't be able to get a final round tune-up. We got to go 3 rounds before that, man. But we know we can get down the racetrack in the heat, and it got delayed. We just got longer and longer, and it got awful tough. We wanted to run around that 5:30, 6 o'clock time, and I'll be willing to bet us a little after that. But for the United States Army, we love you, baby.
See you tomorrow. Remember, he's going for 4 in a row.
With qualifying now official, Gary, we can tell everybody there is now a tie in the points in Top Fuel. Tony Schumacher's pole and Doug Coletta in the 5th spot. They're tied. And as we get ready to wrap things up here, after qualifying, we have narrowed the field down to 64. Tomorrow, we will take it down to 4. And here's the schedule. NHRA today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. Then early eliminations at noon for 1 hour, and then 3 hours of finals at 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific. For Mike Dunn, Dave Reef, Gary Gerald, a special thanks to Dave McClelland. I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much for joining us here on NHRA Powerade Drag Racing. Coming up next is Outside the Lines here on ESPN2. And this has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Good night, everybody.